Hello and welcome to my first tutorial. So today I want to show you how to make this beaded bracelet with spacers. Now the stones that I have used is selenite and shungite, and the spacers I've just used crimp beads. Now when I first started making jewellery, I didn't know what to do or what materials I needed or anything like that. So I just thought I would show you how to do something simple like a beaded bracelet. Okay, so for this you're going to need a pair of craft scissors, a good glue, preferably with a fine tip, a plastic cord, stringy plastic cord. I got this from Amazon. This is, I've got various thicknesses, but this one here is either 0.5 or 0.6 millimeters. And you will also need one of these, which is a bead stopper. This is to stop your beads falling off the end of your cord. Now to start with, you need to cut your cord, and I like to cut a good length because you need your cord to be longer than your bracelet itself, so you need to give it a good length. So I've cut a good length of cord here. You leave a tail at the end and you put your bead stopper on the end. Just like that. So this is obviously the end that you're going to start with. Okay, now I've got my beads in here, in this fiddle tray, and I've got my spacers. Now just so you know before we begin, the average size of an adult wrist is approximately 7 inches. So unless you've got specific measurements to go by, you cannot go wrong with 7 inches. It will fit most people. Okay, so I'm going to start. Now normally I use my tray here because it has measurements along the top here. If I was just doing beads without spacers, I would line my beads along here to the specific measurement. So I know like that is 7 inches, for instance. So I would line my beads up, but because I'm using spacers and because they're so tiny, it won't work in the lineup. So I'm actually going to do it on the thread instead. So I'm going to start with shungite. Doesn't matter what you start with, and it doesn't matter that if you don't have these exact beads, you can use any beads. You can use glass beads. You can use any 2 combinations, whatever your favorite crystals are. Something like this would be an ideal gift for someone or for yourself. Now I actually made this one for myself, so this is my personal bracelet. Okay, so far I have got the shungite and the selenite, and I'm going to put another spacer on. Okay, now whatever bead you start with, you end with the opposite, and you always make sure that you have a spacer after the last bead. Okay, so you just keep going like this. And what I'm going to do is once I get to a certain length, I will then start measuring it up against my tray so that I know how much further I have to go to get to 7 inches. Now, the spacers that I am using for this are just these. They're just like little crimp beads. And I use crimp beads for when I am making anklets or necklaces. But they also come in useful for little spacers like this as well. So this is the easy part, is just adding your beads and your spacers. It is easier if you could line them up on the tray and work out what your 7 inches is, or whatever measurement you're working with on the tray. Now the tray that I have is from Beadsmith, which you can get from Amazon. And they have different styles of bead trays. I've had this one for a while, it's seen better days. So I like the selenite and shungite combination because they are 2 of my favourite crystals. And I think they make a lovely combination as well. Not just properties of the crystals themselves, but colour-wise as well. Because I do like the yin-yang. And these just remind me of the yin-yang colours. But also yin-yang properties as well of the crystals. They work very well together. These are a very powerful combination, selenite and shungite together. Right, now that I'm starting to get some length on my so you can see what I've done so far. Looks like this. So I'm going to line it up on my, so I've still got about 2.5 inches left to thread. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going. And I'm very sorry that I do not have the appropriate recording equipment because this is my first tutorial. I haven't really invested in the proper recording materials that you need. But once I get a few tutorials under my belt, hopefully I will work out what I need recording wise. And oh, I forgot to add a spacer. See? And this is what it would look like without a spacer. Just so I forgot to add my spacer. Picked up 2 there. Spacers can be a bit fiddly because they're so small. Now, you can double thread crystal bracelets using this because this is quite a thin cord. That's why I like to use the thin cord, because you can, depending on the size of the hole of the bead, you can double thread. Not all beads have large holes, unfortunately, so not all you can double thread. But those that I single thread using the same cord, because I can use a thicker cord for single threading, but it's the finish, because you knot at the end, and if you've got a thicker cord, it doesn't knot so neatly at the end. So using this thinner cord, you get a tidier finish. And one day I will show you how to double thread your bracelets. I'm just going to measure this again because I am getting close. Yeah, I've got maybe just 1 more. 2 more actually. Now the reason I say 2 more is because if I just add one more, I'm going to be back onto the shungite. And as I started with the shungite, you actually want to finish with the opposite stone as what you started with. So I'm just going to add one more spacer. One more selenite. And I am going to finish with a spacer. Okay, now I'm going to remeasure that on my board. Right, this takes me just slightly over the 7 inches. It's one bead longer, but it's one bead longer because I had to finish with the opposite stone. This is now what it looks like. Okay, so I'm going to put that down just now, and I'm going to get my glue ready. So I'm going to unscrew my top. Now, because this is a fairly new tube, if I lay it down, it starts to spill out. So I need to leave it standing up just now. Okay, but I'm going to pick up my bracelet. I'm going to hold it at both ends. I'm now going to remove my bead stopper. I'm going to hold it together like this, and you are now just going to knot, tie a knot, pull it so it's taut, not too tight. Don't want it too tight because it'll snap otherwise. You get your glue and you just glue in there where your knot is. You will likely get glue on your fingers doing this. And then I am going to do a second knot. Okay. That's my second knot. Pulled it tight, and I'm going to get my glue again. And I'm just going to glue in here where my knot is. So I typically do triple knot and triple glue. I'm trying to get that bit through. So there we go, there's my third and final knot. And my third and final layer of glue. Put my lid back on. Put that away. And that's your bracelet. Now normally I leave the glue to set before I cut the ends off. But you want to cut the ends as close to the beads as possible. So I shall show you an example on mine. If I can even find it. Oh, here we go. So this is where I have cut the cords. But you can see, you don't even see the knot. So basically all you have to do is leave that glue to set, and then cut your cord. Now when I'm working with healing crystals, in fact I only work with healing crystals. Healing crystals is the staple of my business. But I normally like to leave my crystals to charge overnight. I use selenite plates or rulers, and I leave these to charge overnight, and then I will cut the cord. But that's pretty much your bracelet done. Well, good luck, guys. Let me know in the comments how you get on. Okay, thank you.